Connect all your friends with our friends, and we can have a watch party together. Watch your favorite TV shows when you want, how you want, with your favorite people. Here's how it works. Log on to Facebook from your computer or tablet and go to the RJ Watkins fan page at facebook.com/TV33WHPR, the one with the blue WHPR logo on the left. Like us. Click the word videos with the red tag that says live next to it. Then click the share button at the bottom of the video player and select start a watch party. Invite whoever you want. Your party will be recorded and archived for playback anytime you want. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. At the end of the month, the viewer that has the most people at their watch party will be invited on the TV show live. Come on, let's have a party.
WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
FM 88.1 WHPR, Highland Park.
WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
With 20 top surgeons performing over a dozen of the latest knee, hip, and joint procedures at the hospitals you know and trust, we only have one question. Where does it hurt? Orthopedics and Sports Medicine at the DMC. Register for a free seminar and discover your options. Orthopedics and Sports Medicine at the DMC. The official doctors of our Detroit Tigers and Red Wings, with offices throughout Southeast Michigan and more than 30 rehabilitation locations. Trust the experts the pros trust. Register for a free seminar today.
There's only one thing kids take seriously: being a kid. They don't worry about getting sick or hurt. They're just here for a good time. But we take kids very seriously. At Children's Hospital of Michigan, we only have one focus and one purpose: the health of your child. Because there's a big difference in a hospital that also cares for kids and a hospital that only cares for kids. That's why we've devoted our lives to caring for your child, just like you. The new Children's Hospital of Michigan.
I was terrified of photos.
This was the only pair of pants I had.
I needed help. Life was sad.
Didn't have a great quality of life.
Everything was centered around food. But enough was enough. I chose weight loss surgery with Your New Self, DMC's Weight Loss Solutions program.
Attend a free weight loss seminar in person or online.
Just 30 miles from Detroit, they built a giant power station, and it takes each night as the city sleeps, or maybe seconds from annihilation. Yeah, but no one stopped to think about the people, or just how they would survive. Yes, we've almost lost Detroit this time, yeah, this time. And how would we ever get over losing our minds? You see, almost lost Detroit that time. Say, well, almost lost.
Stand-up show with Minister Malisha Barnes. Of course, I'm Baba Kefentse, a.k.a. Dr. Chike, and we're going to continue to take you black in the day in the 313. Of course, we want to say Habari, Gani, and of course, today is the first day of Kwanzaa, and as I do every week, I have to start the show with my mask on as a reminder to the viewers, listeners, and everyone Continue to protect yourself to the best of your ability. Of course, in a normal reality, I don't even think black people have been in a normal reality since we've been in this place. But one would think that government or the system, whatever, would provide some type of protection, but we know we can't rely on them. So wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, do all of that. So I'm going to take the mask off just to make it so you can see my beautiful face, of course. Today is December the 26th, Saturday, the first day of Kwanzaa, and I just want to give a shout out of Habari, Gani to everyone and urge you to celebrate the day. As we always do, we want to begin our show with a moment of silence for our African ancestors, those Big Mama, Pop Jim, yes, our personal ancestors, our family ancestors, the ancestors we share as a global African people, a local village, those Africans that went before us, Mami Mani, Kamal da Ajara, Tigamba, Sundiata Keita, Mama Sophia Seskani, Mama Tracy, who was a very good singer, Mama Samara, Mami Mani, Nana Kwamiata. Of course, I could name the names from now until infinity. We want to acknowledge them, invite them to come into our midst as we celebrate Kwanzaa on this first day of Kwanzaa and for the next 6 days after this. And I would also like to include our moment of silence, a prayer for the family. There was a family on the east side of Detroit that experienced a fire, and they lost 2 very small children in the fire. Several of their children were burned. 2 little boys, I know one name is Delon, I forgot the other one's name. And I should have this information, but I don't. They have a GoFundMe page. They are really, really seriously hurting, and we offer prayer and condolences to them as well. So we take a moment of silence. We say Madasi Pa, which means thank you very much in Tree, Asante Sana, which means thank you in Kiswahili, Ashe, Asheo, which means thank you very much in Yoruba. We thank the ancestors for their sacrifices. And of course, we pray that the Creator and our ancestors be with this family as they mourn and process the transition of their loved ones. Habari Gani, this is a Get Up Stand Up show with Minister Malik Shabazz. We're taking you black in the day in a 313. And I want to put a little more emphasis on Kwanzaa in this show. And of course, I do have some talking points I'd like people to respond to. You're viewing us either on TV 33, WHPR, WHPS, from the capital of the African world, Highland Park / Detroit, Michigan, and or through all the various forms of social media, including my Facebook page, Roku Box, Roku TV, Fire TV, Apple TV, and all of the rest. We urge you to tune in, turn on, view us, lend us your spirit, lend us your energy, help me to stay honest in case I get a little information incorrect. And I'm so glad to see that I have some people checking me out on Facebook, and I was concerned for the past 3 weeks because I didn't see anybody. And after 2 or 3 weeks of trying to figure out what the problem was, when I opened up Facebook Live this particular day, I saw what the problem was, and I fixed it. So I'm glad to see that you all are there. As we do every week, we urge you to support the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network, the group of brothers and sisters who have been working diligently to manage a 7-acre farm. They're also in the process of creating the Detroit People's Food Co-op. So we urge you to support them with donations. You can go join their ranks and be a part of what they're doing. You can reach them at dbcfsn.org on the internet, or you can call them at 313-345-3663. You can also reach them via email at info@dbcfsn.org. And we have new call-in numbers this week, different than the usual ones. You can call us at 313-365-7327, 313-365-7379. And you may notice, those of you that are viewing on TV, that we're in a different segment of the studio. I understand there's some renovations going on, so we don't have the illustrious backdrop that we usually have. So today is Kwanzaa, and Kwanzaa was founded in 1966 by Dr. Maulana Karenga. So I think that would make this the 54th year of Kwanzaa. And it actually started, I want to say in Compton, California. I know it was in California. Started in California by Dr. Maulana Karenga and his organization, US. And when they created it, it was not intended to be a black Christmas or an alternative to Christmas. It's a black holiday which spans for 7 days. It goes from December the 26th to January the 1st. And at the core of this holiday, so it's not just we just come together and celebrate. We know we the kind of people, we'll find all in any kind of reason to celebrate. We don't have problems with doing that. This particular holiday is based on the Nguzo Saba, which are 7 principles. In the language, the word Kiswahili, the language used during Kwanzaa the word Kwanzaa, which means festival of the first fruits, is a Kiswahili word. So that's the language we use when we celebrate Kwanzaa. And it lasts for 7 days, and there's 7 corresponding principles, one for each day of the celebration. And the greeting each day when you see someone is Habari, Gani. And the response for that particular day will be whatever the principle for that day is. Now, at the core of this celebration is 7 principles which are indicative or which represent a value system. So when we celebrate Kwanzaa, and the idea is we celebrate from December 26th to January the 1st. But we're supposed to be celebrating that we employ this value system in our lives during every day of the year. Early on, Minister Malik made reference to Kwame Kenyatta and his concept of a 365 degrees, 24/7 Kwanzaa man and woman, which was indicative of men and women, brothers and sisters, that have incorporated these principles into our lifestyle. And the idea is a value system that will move us away from the value system that we internalize as a result of having been enslaved, that was imposed on us and that we continue to carry with us after slavery ended, at least in theory, in 1865. Dr. Naeem Akbar refers to the same thing as the ghost of the plantation. And that's the idea that we have remnants, behaviors and attitudes that we have adapted and normalized due to being enslaved that do not serve our best interests. But of course, I could do the whole show talking about that, and I don't want to do that, but I do want to talk about the principles. So today's principle is Umoja, and Umoja means unity. And I took these meanings directly from Dr. Karenga's website. If you think you want to maybe incorporate Kwanzaa into your family, celebrate it, you know, with you and your significant other, you and your children, or whoever. You can even do it by yourself if you live alone, and it's a variety of ways you can celebrate it. But I urge you, for the most accurate information, to go to the official Kwanzaa website, and that is Dr. Karenga's website. Now, Minister Malik, you sending me a message here. Give out the, you got to write it out. I'm not good at reading the emojis, so I try to find that. But anyhow, I let myself get distracted, but he's trying to communicate a message to me. So I say that to say, get the accurate information, the accurate definitions and meanings of Kwanzaa right from the source. Too many times we see Kwanzaa being distorted and the meanings and definitions being revised and adapted to fit to other things. And at the core of this holiday, the celebration, is the very clear intentions to resurrect people of African descent and to help restore us not just to our traditional greatness, but to move us to be effective nation builders and effective in salvaging ourselves and our community. And the message I'm getting, and I did this once, but I'll remind you several times, you can call us via phone at 313-365-7327 or 313-365-7379. And at least I would say temporarily, I think we have different call-in numbers, but we'll make sure that we get those numbers out because some people may be locked into the previous numbers that we were using, previously. So again, today's principle is Umoja, which means unity. And according to Karenga, he says he means to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. And that's so important because just in my short lifetime, family has taken on a whole different kind of meaning. And I'm not just referring to the idea of blended families and baby mamas and things like that. All of that is part of the extended family. But I can remember at a time when something was happening in the context of family. It included things like we ate together, we did things together. And I know myself, and I know other people as well. Look, one person may cook food, or everybody may cook their own food in a house of 4 or 5 people, and everybody departs to their little section of the house. So I'm saying this to say family, community, nation, and race, these are interrelated groupings of how we organize ourselves. So of course, the most immediate group is the family, and that expands out to the extended family, and that expands out to the community, that expands out to the nation, us as a people, and in a broader sense, the race, meaning all people of African descent. And as Malcolm X taught us, the problems we face because of our race, what we look like, you see? And if 2020 didn't teach us anything else, it should have made us clearly aware of the perspective and position of that this society, or at least the majority, numeric majority of the people in this society, even though that's changing, their perspective on us, how they see us. And if it hasn't been any more clear, all you had to do is look at this last election and the efforts to undermine the black vote. The places they attacked were where? Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. One other state that doesn't come to mind, but they were specifically pointing out and attacking and trying to suit areas that were predominantly black folks. And they were fearful or trying to push back against the fact that black people showed up and showed out, as we say. And our vote was very impactful, you see. So I'm saying that to say, going back to this idea of family, community, nation, and race, we have to come together on the same basis of why we're oppressed. And I know it's people like, I ain't oppressed. Some of my best friends are white, and, you know, my boo is white, and yada, 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 whatever. It ain't personal. It's not on a personal level. But anyhow, let me not veer off too far. So today is Umoja, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. The second principle, and people always, this is a challenging word, Kujichagulia. And Kujichagulia simply means self-determination. We have the ability, the right, and the fortitude to name ourselves, create and speak for ourselves. Something as basic as naming, and I'm sure many of us know, and if you don't know, now you do know. When our first ancestors were brought here, we were forced to take on names that were not reflective of who we are. This is at the core of undermining a people's self-determination, their agency, but actually by naming or renaming something, when you name something, you are actually defining what that thing is. So, and I'm going to just go back to kind of a stereotypical figure that everybody would know. Kunta Kinte was Kunta Kinte. That name had meaning based on his history, culture, and all of that. And the whole point in renaming him was to give him a name that helped to redefine who he was or who he is. And it has occurred to all of us. So we must exercise Kujichagulia by taking back our agency, taking back and exercising our self-determination to name ourselves. And I know everybody's not going to switch their name to an African name. And you should wear your name, your family name, with pride. But just be clear about the significance and importance of practicing Kujichagulia, particularly as it pertains to naming ourselves, creating for ourselves, and speaking for ourselves. And interestingly, even, I mean, to some degree, those of us that have taken on African names are exercising Kujichagulia, but we've seen it play out in other ways as it pertains to naming our children. And that was black folks who came up, now some of the names I don't agree with, they came up with names, they made up names. You see, that's still Kujichagulia. So anyhow, the second principle is Kujichagulia. The third principle is Ujamaa, cooperative economics. And I want you to say these things as I say them. So when I say Ujamaa, no, I'm sorry, Ujima. So you say Ujima, even though I can't hear you, you can say it at home because I want you to learn the principles. And actually, if you never celebrated Kwanzaa before, I want you to become a participant in this. You dig? Hey, Dr. Lisa, what's up? I guess I misinterpreted something, and but anyhow, I appreciate you checking us out. So anyhow, I'm kind of all over the place. Let me get a little more focused. I'm always up against time because this is the shortest television show in TV. I think I have about 55 minutes or so to get it all in. And of course, I always have more information than there's enough time to present. Anyhow, today is Kwanzaa, the first day Umoja, and I'm talking about the principles. The third principle is Ujamaa. Can you say Ujamaa? And I keep mixing it up. Ujamaa is the fourth principle. Ujima is the third principle, collective work and responsibility. And Karanga tells us this means to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. Now, you know, the last thing you turn to one is like, look, I ain't got nothing to do with that. That's your problem. But see, we used to not be like that. We used to, if whoever was having problems down the street, maybe she had to go to the hospital, I made sure her children were fed, or if the children needed somewhere to come after school, we worked together to collectively solve the problems that we had as a community. And we need to regarner that and stop running when people look like they may need our help, including our family members. The fourth principle, Ujamaa, is cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. And I urge people, I tried to get some black businesses on the show, but I kind of waited too late. I'm going to try to be ahead of this next Kwanzaa, because for the next 7 days, and part of Kwanzaa does include giving presents. And originally, the idea was you made presents that had meanings reflective of our culture and our history, but you can buy presents, but you should buy presents that reinforce the positive aspects of our African history and our culture, to reinforce our political perspectives, and the like. So what I'm saying, in the effort to practice Ujamaa, go out and support black businesses. And if you are lost for where there are black businesses, if you go to 7 Mile, if you go to Livernois, and I want to say starting at 7 Mile going north, to 8 Mile, but there are some black businesses going south as well. I think they still call it the Avenue of Fashion. Of course, there was some really high-polluting, classy, Hughes Hatching and Suffering and these type of stores on the Avenue of Fashion back in the day. But there seems to be a revitalization over there and a rebirth of black businesses. And those aren't the only ones. That's just an immediate area I can tell you to go to. And go there for the next 6 days or some point in the next 6 days. They have Cuzzo's. I haven't been there, but I heard the food is good. They also have Good Times Restaurant. There's a brother over there named Zelly, or I think it's Zell or Zelly. He's on the east side of Livernois, just up at Pembroke. He's an artist, but he has a framing shop. Go up there and check him out. There's also Mitchell's Clothing, which is on Livernois, just north of 7 Mile. And just check these people out. And again, the fourth principle is Ujamaa, cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Now, I want to add another nuance to that. You should always support black businesses, but for those of you all that are black business owners, you have a responsibility as well as black business owners. And we all know, we can all attest at times we went into a black business, we go in already with a defeatist attitude. I ain't gonna say the N word, but we say I knew, and we have all kind of prefixed ideas in our minds about why we can't support black businesses and black people ain't blank. And I knew they were gonna act like this. And those things, those of us that are consumers, we have to be more patient. And we have to be aware that there is something known as the black tax, where black entrepreneurs and merchants have oftentimes to pay more money, whether it's for rent or whatever. But those of you who are the business owners, you have a responsibility to do two things for sure: to provide quality service and quality goods. So you have the responsibility to counter all of the negative stereotypes about black businesses. So it's not just we're going to come out and support the black businesses. That's part of it. But those of you out there that are black merchants, black businesses owners, you have a responsibility to provide quality goods and services to the community. And I know people will be, y'all should support me because I'm black. Yes, we should, but you have a responsibility as well. So far I've covered 4 of the principles: Umoja, which is unity; Kujichagulia, which is self-determination; Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility; and Ujamaa, cooperative economics. The 5th principle is Nia, purpose. And I want you to say Nia at home. I'm sorry, I keep moving this camera around. I'm trying to see my script here. Nia means purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And one thing I like to interject along with Dr. Karanga's definition for Nia, purpose: each and every one of us came to the earth realm. We came to this level of existence as spiritual beings with a divine purpose. Everything in creation, the sun, the stars, the moon, the bees, the birds, everything in creation was created for a reason and is interdependent upon other things in creation. And I think one of the most joyous or fulfilling places a person can be at in their life is when they have realized what their purpose is for being here, being alive. It's not about making money. In fact, people that are on point and on purpose would tell you, when I'm on purpose and doing what it is I came here to do, the money comes. And that's because, why? The source of everything is only one source of everything. And that source provides for us abundantly, but we have to be tapped into it. So if you're doing what it is you were brought to the planet to do, you're going to always have what you need. and oftentimes what you want and you need. So I just wanted to kind of add a little twist on Dr. Karanga's definition of NEA, which again is to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to our traditional greatness. The sixth principle is Kuumba, creativity, to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Now, how often do we think in terms of how can I make the hood better, or how can I make wherever I've been, wherever I stop at, whoever I talk to, whoever I interact with in the course of the day, how often do I think about, did I add something of value to that experience? Did I add something of value to that relationship? In my neighborhood or at my house, am I doing things to destroy the block and make it worse, or am I doing things to make it better? And because, and it's going back to creativity as well, there's a spiritual concept that we are co-creators. And you hear people oftentimes refer to Almighty God as the creator, but we're co-creators. So when we're in alignment with that divine source, we create in conjunction with the creator. So if we employ the ability to create or co-create, we should always be enhancing every experience, every opportunity that we have with each other, and just in our everyday comings and goings. So the sixth principle of Kwanzaa is Kuumba, creativity, to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. And sometimes we need to tell ourselves, just stop and think about how you react to things. A lot of times we're programmed to respond. Sometimes in a just brief interaction with your significant other, your homie, your friend, you may react in a way that if you had stopped and thought about the implications of your actions, you may find that you'll yield a better result that's more conducive of who you are as a co-creator and as a manifestation of the divine. Finally is the seventh principle, and I've had numerous debates. I think I've been celebrating Kwanzaa about 39 years or 40 years in a variety of capacities as facilitator, participant, or whatever. There's always discussions over, well, which principle is the most, which principle do you like, or which one is the more important? They're all equally valuable because they're not just things to talk about and to focus on for a day. This is a complete value system that can help us transform ourselves. But the final principle, and interestingly, as I said before, Kwanzaa starts today, December the 26th, and it's practiced for the last 6 days of the year, and the last principle begins the new year. And the last principle is Imani, which means faith. And Dr. Karanga explains is to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Now, how many of us that we encounter, how many people that you encounter in the course of the day are even close to being on point with that? A matter of fact, for those of us that have been involved in this black-ish for however long, you still have people, you run into them, you ain't seen them 10 years, 20 years, you still doing that black stuff? Of course I'm still doing it. It still needs to be done. And that's a manifestation of one's ability to have faith in the righteousness and victory of our struggle. And I know, and I'll back up a little bit. In previous shows, I talked about the significance of 2020 vision being perfect vision, and how in this year of 2020, if you have not been able to see the writing on the wall, and that's kind of metaphoric, if you haven't been able to see more clear than ever the perspective or perception of this society for us, if not with just the election, they've attacked us flat out, and to the point to blatantly go to court to try to use the court system to say the black vote doesn't count. Now, they're not saying it that way, but if you even got a little bit, you ain't even got to have a little bit of intelligence to see the attacks on the black vote. All the places that they filed these lawsuits and all this, they were attacking black folks and our alleged right to vote blatantly. But even before this, when COVID first hit in March, the Trump, Jared Kushner's and others were gearing up to roll out all kind of PPE and all kind of stuff to provide some type of protective resources to the public. And not long after it hit, it became known that black and brown people were the major victims that were contracting and dying from COVID. And when this came to fruition, they began to pull back. So it was on par with the attacks on brown people who were coming here as immigrants, sinking the American dream, locking up babies in jail and cages. And of course we know, and it ain't even, it's not even secret or covert anymore. Donald Trump has exercised white supremacy and clearly indicated that he's a racist. And people still say, oh, well, I won't go as far as say he's a racist. I mean, come on now. This may be kind of ironic, but call a spade a spade. And one of his major top senior aides is who? Stephen Miller, an avowed white supremacist and racist who came up through the ranks of, what was the first Attorney General's name? Sessions, Just Sessions. He produced Stephen Miller, you see. So going back to the righteousness and victory of our struggle, and even now, and I'm not saying you should not support the this election in Georgia, where, you know, all boots on the ground and all hands on deck to get Ossoff and Warnock elected. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, but we still continue to put immense energy and resources in the idea that this system somehow is going to change its mind. These people are going to change their perspective. They're going to somehow, because we made some massive appeal to them, they're going to all of a sudden decide to treat us differently than they've been treating us. And if you don't know, just a little more education. Many of these fights, these attitudes and these views that are coming from the right-wing right, conservative, so-called angelics, are the same spirit and energy that led to the Civil War and that led those people that became a part of the Confederacy to succeed from the Union and have historically never given up that fight. And we're still thinking somehow, oh, they owe us and they're going to do this, that, and the other. I'm not saying you shouldn't think that way, but you need to be more realistic and think about Imani and the faith and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. And I know, you know, we talk about ancestors, I pour libations, I mention them all the time, and I seriously mean that we can connect to them. But each and every one of us is connected to Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King. We are connected in a long trajectory or a long river-like. We're connected. And those of us that are fighting today in the course of our lifetimes are part of a continuum. And this is essential because the struggle or the conditions that got us to where we are, it has never stopped. The people that were fighting the Civil War were the same people, or the children of the people that were turning fire hose on brothers and sisters, our ancestors in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They were the same people that ran up on Fred Hampton, that ran down Angela Davis, that bound and gagged Bobby Seale in an American courtroom, that as I said, killed Fred Hampton, that locked up Huey P. Newton. In every case, these are people that attacked black folks, killed Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. killed people that were not necessarily trying to commit any offenses or violence against them. They were merely acting as people who believed in the righteousness and victory of our struggle and the idea that we were human beings and we had a right to exercise our humanity and live as human beings. So that's the seventh principle. I know y'all like, well, he just was going to talk about the principles. I'm sorry, I'm getting carried away. It's at the end of the year, right? So we got to go out with a bang. No, sir? So that Imani is faith, to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. And before I leave that, I want to just say some names of people. Malik Yakini, Malik Shabazz, Mami Imani Humphrey. Some of these people I live in, some of them are gone. Coleman Alexander Young. These are people who were committed to do this work. There's people right in our midst. 65 years old, this, Mama Hanifa, Jeramogi Mentally Kamathi, Cardinal Sondai. There's just so many people who committed more than half of their lives to doing the work that was essential to restoring our people to our traditional greatness, waking us up and helping to move us towards where we need to be so that we can create the life in the institutions that we need to be able to support ourselves and to be able to, if we want to sit at the table with these people, to sit, negotiate, and interact with them from a perspective of power. And nobody gives you power. You have to take power. You have to build power. But to do that, you have to first know that you don't have it. You have to secondly know that you need it. And thirdly, you have to know who you are and whose you are. And I'm not saying that in the context of like a Christian context, who you are and whose you are. Beyond that, because there's only one creator and he created all of us. Anyhow, now I'm starting to do church. So anyhow, the seven principles, I'll go through them all. They're celebrated every day. There's a principle that corresponds with each day, beginning today, December the 26th. December the 26th would be Umoja, unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family and community, nation, and race. The 27th would be Kuji Chagalia, self-determination, naming, creating, and speaking for ourselves. The 28th would be Ujima, collective work and responsibility to build and maintain our community together, and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. The 29th, Ujaman, cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses and profit from them together. The 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, the 30th, purpose, Nia, to make our collective vocation the building and development of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. The 31st, Kaumba, creativity, to do always as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited. And the seventh principle, Imani, which is faith, to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. And I urge you, there are numerous Kwanzaa programs being celebrated. One that I know that I can give you some indirect information for is the Charles H. Wright Museum, as it does every year, is hosting Kwanzaa. It'll be done almost certainly electronically, so I urge you to go to the Charles H. Wright Museum's website, and I think the website is thewright.org, and there's a list. Several community organizations are having Kwanzaa celebrations. Also, the Shrine of the Black Madonna will be doing Kwanzaa. I think every day you can go to the Kwanzaa website. If you simply Google the Shrine of the Black Madonna Church, you should see a calendar for the different days of Kwanzaa and how you can access that as electronically as well. And just a few other facts and key points I like to raise. Wow, I didn't realize this. We down to what, about 10 minutes? Of course, if you have any comments or questions, those of you on Facebook can just simply, I need to slow down. Simply need, you can shoot it. I see your comments. Let me give a shout out to my people on Facebook. I'm so glad to see you are back, and it's not that you are back. I just figured out what the glitch was in my Facebook app. And by the way, I have to put out a caution about Facebook. If you had Netflix, you have to watch the documentary, The Social Dilemma. And in this documentary, they lay out the role that Facebook and other social media plays in misinforming people. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but check it out. It's called The Social Dilemma. I think it's only available on Facebook. They essentially take our information, and I know people, because we just all over Facebook like it's going to the park. And it's free, which of course we definitely going to, anything free, we're going to participate. But what I don't think we know, they're collecting so much information of our personal private information. How many times have you maybe not just went on Facebook, but just on, on the internet, you may go looking for something that you are shopping for. So I'm going to go to, I don't know, Blacknificent. I'm going to just naming a black source that some of us go to. And they're tracking the places that you go. So if I'm looking for a pair of shoes, and I could be looking for some Stacey Adams or whatever, the next time I go on Facebook, they got all kind of ads that's got all the stuff I was looking for. Now, how do they do this? They not only do they get our information, but then they sell it. So Zuckerberg is a multi-billionaire, and he really, I mean, to me, y'all got to excuse the reference, but this is some kind of high-tech pimpology. You see? So I go in there, yeah, I'm having fun, and I'm going to post and show my friends my status and how I'm doing. In the meantime, you getting played. And they're feeding information back to you. So these people in the media, like these people that really believe Trump somehow won the election, because of the impact of an entity like Facebook, they have been able to convey to these people that Trump really did win the election. And we reluctantly, I shouldn't say reluctantly, we willingly sign on to this, not realizing that we're facilitating the process. So it's like we're feeding this monster that is essentially eating us, and we continue to feed it, not realizing the role that we play in helping it to operate. Anyhow, I did say I wanted to acknowledge the Facebook people. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a little fired up here, I guess. I'm glad to have the Facebook thing back happening. And for people that may still be here, and I'm going back to when I started today at 11, I just want to give a shout out to my dear friend, Mama Falashade, Mama Amina, Baba Philip Jack, of course, dear sister Ajawa Asabi, my dear brother Abdul Latif. I know I owe you a phone call. I'm going to call you when I get off the air. My dear friend, brother Rodney. What's up? Malik Shabazz. And you can check out Malik Shabazz tonight on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. A real good dear friend, longer than 20 years, going way back. My dear friend, Dr. Lisa Bratton, who is holding it down. She's a staunch researcher and advocate for the Tuskegee Airmen. I got to get you on the show, Lisa. So we're going to get you on the show. You can come on via phone until we can get in the same place. Hopefully you're still there. Shout out my dear first cousin, Courtney D. Redmond, who was a healthcare worker on the front lines, moving around to different places, of course, in this fight against COVID. Dear friend Noma Linga, another good friend, Carolyn So Beautiful, Nkishi and Wadike, Fatima Majid, dear friend Jamboni, who's holding it down in Tallahassee, Mosi Will Banks, and he mentioned today at 2 o'clock at 90s Knowledge Cafe there will be a Kwanzaa celebration. I'm sorry I didn't catch that earlier. who else I got here? Kwesi Akamu, Habari, Gani. What's up, brother? If you can, shoot out the name. Is the Shed? Is that the name of your business? And now we going way back. I can't even. I ain't gonna even admit how long I've been knowing this sister, and she ain't but 35. That's my dear friend Annette Cooper. We go back way, way back, like the Jazz Crusaders, way back home. Y'all remember that one? We go way back. So I wanted to shout everybody out. Of course, now I can't get to all the information I had. I still had a lot. But, okay. Real quickly, born on this day in 1935, Abdul Duke Fakir was born in Detroit. He became a member of the legendary Motown Records. And is he still alive? I'm not sure. I think one of the Four Tops is still alive. Born on December the 28th in 1912, Willis Ward was born in Alabama. He went on to become a politician and public servant in the local and federal government. Born in 1928, December 29th, Edward Robinson, also known as Robbie, he became a popular photographer whose work will be published in the Michigan Chronicle and Jet magazine. Also, December the 30th, born in 1939, and this sister is, in my mind, one of the most great songwriter and singer, none other than Kim Wesson, who made a beautiful version of Young, Gifted, and Black, and probably the premier version of Lift Every Voice and Sing. She was born in Detroit. She became a popular vocalist and performer and was signed to the legendary Motown Records. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. Two last birthdays. Born January the 1st in 1923, Milt Jackson of the Modern Jazz Quartet, and on that same day, born in 1942, the Honorable Dennis W. Archer, who was one of Detroit mayors. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We were fortunate enough to be here thanks to Watkins Broadcasting. One thing that I didn't get to, I had to say this if I got a real quick minute. In and this is very significant to where we at this moment in time. In 1987, on December 31st, the Scene Dance Show ends its popular run on WGPR Channel 62, which was the nation's first Black-owned and operated television show. And I just wanted to say that as I was thinking about, of course, giving thanks to WHPR, WHPS, and, of course, our illustrious engineer who's holding it down to my left, making sure that you all can hear me and, of course, see me. But I think I can honestly say, had there not been a WGPR, there would not be a WHPR. And we know that our honorable brother R.J. Watkins is the holdover. He was the one that kept the dream of those that found the GPR alive and continues to make it a reality for us today. So this is Black broadcasting in television still in effect. So we want to thank Watkins Broadcasting, Minister Malik Shabazz, for this opportunity. Of course, all my friends and family, particularly you, those of you on Facebook. And it's been an honor, of course, to begin Kwanzaa here. And I also will have the honor and privilege, God willing, the creek don't rise, to be here next Saturday on the last day of Kwanzaa to close out the celebration and, of course, to bring in a new, healthy, and happy and prosperous year. And I'm sure none of us are regretting 2020 being so close to being in the rearview mirror. That being said, I'd like to close with the words of our patron saint, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Up, you mighty race, and accomplish what you will.
Ooh. And just 30 miles from Detroit, they built a giant power station, and it takes each night as the city sleeps, or maybe seconds from annihilation. Yeah, but no one stopped to think about the people, but just how they would survive. Yes, we've almost lost Detroit this time. Yeah, this time. And how would we ever get over losing our minds? You see, almost lost Detroit. That time, say, well, almost lost Detroit.